right, thank you. Yep. One of the things that we've been doing in POD is we've been tracking, excuse me, how a bill is made. It starts with an interest group, and they go through the process of finding out the interest, and then they had to write an amendment to our state constitution or our national constitution, depending on how big their scope of their bill was. So we started out with these two ladies, Cadence and Lakin. They had an interest on having their voices heard and student engagement. Through the project, they had to make a poll that they distributed to some of their classmates. Sometimes some of you teachers on here probably got an email from me saying, hey, would you take this poll? Just kind of depending on what it was. So these ladies, I think they had 78 respondents to the poll. So the information they're going to provide you is fairly vast and probably a fairly good representation on the way the student population at Oaks Public Schools feels. A couple things that drove their decision to do this was in their time at Oaks High School in particular, they've gone through a whole bunch of changes and a whole bunch of things that have, it started one way and then it got manipulated and manipulated again. And through all these things, even though they've been well-reasoned and probably appropriate or, agreed upon by the teachers and whatnot, the student voice in that and some of those decisions have been lacking. So some of the things they cited were, it started with the pandemic, and the pandemic is the pandemic, and you can't really do anything with that. At one point in their high school careers, they had flex mod. Now they no longer have flex mod. At one point, when we went to our 7-period bell schedule, they didn't have a homeroom. And then they had a homeroom with their class, and now they have a homeroom with a mixed class. The grading scale started 90, 80, 70, 60. Then it got changed to include A+. Now there's talk that it's going to be standards-based grading. So there's a whole bunch of changes there. The student lounge, which was part of flex mod, where students could go if they had a free period or they had some time off and they didn't want to leave the building to study, relax, whatever that thing might be. And then the other one that they're probably the most passionate about, and probably the thing that drove the whole thing, is the homecoming changes with no class Olympics and some other things. But I'll stop talking now and let them talk for a little bit. So, Cadence, Lakin.
Okay, so our amendment that we came up with is that all schools in North Dakota must have a student representative seat on the school board, so that no student shall, in any stage of their schooling, have their thoughts and comments ignored by the administration and staff.
We chose this topic because we found that most students feel that the administration does not listen to the school body, and from feedback from the survey I sent out, 62% of the students that responded felt that the administration does not listen to the problems. And then the other half that said they did listen, 88% said that they don't fix the issues. And then 87% of students feel that the administration does not makes decision without consulting the students.
So for our amendment, we are proposing it to the state government. Since we only have feedback from our surrounding area, we just thought starting with our state government would be best for what our amendment is. We said that we'd want our amendment to go into effect in the beginning of January, so that when school remains after Christmas break, there wouldn't be times when students would be ignored or misheard.
How the government would enforce it: the student representative on the administration, if it feels that they are ignoring their thought, they would explain to the school board. And if the school board doesn't do anything about it, then it would go to the state.
The effect that we hope this has, we want everyone to have a say in what happens in the school environment. After our amendment would be passed, we don't want the administrators to control everything without consulting in student opinions. We hope this would allow students to have a say in what is being put in place for their schoolwork and activities. And we found that this would also make students feel more comfortable and confident in addressing their teachers and administrators. So that's all we have for our presentation part. So yeah.
All right, thank you for your presentation. A month ago, the board had a report from the three members of the board that attended our North Dakota School Boards Association conference in October. Board member Heimbuch brought to the board an idea that she had encountered at the convention regarding having a student representative on the a non-voting student representative on the school board. Have you seen that proposal? Have you girls seen that?
No, we haven't seen anything regarding like student engagement with the school board.
Okay. And what I'm hearing you say, a lot of the topics that you've mentioned, I think sound like they are administrative topics rather than school board topics. And I'm wondering, what are your thoughts? Okay, so what you shared with us today was a class project regarding a proposal to the state legislature, and that's great. But we're not the state legislature. So I'm wondering from the two of you girls, how do you think that this, your research could be applied at Oaks Public Schools?
Well, I think, like you said, I think putting like a student representative seat on the school board could help. I mean, I know some of the stuff we said isn't like the school board isn't fully involved, but if we don't have like any seat or any spot, we're getting shut down. So I think like if we did have a spot on the school board, it would like create better chances for us to have a say.
I'm also familiar with the state superintendent of public instruction, Superintendent Basler, has she has not only a student cabinet, but she also has a principals cabinet. She has a cabinet of family representatives. So not as another possibility, what would you think about either our superintendent or our principals having a group of student representatives on a cabinet or advisory council to them?
I think that would be nice too, because then you have more than just one person seeing it all. You have a group of students that can see what the administration sees, but then also what the student sees, and you can get more feedback.
And regardless, if there was to be a student advisory board to administrators or a student representative on the school board, how would either of you propose or envision that the student or students be selected?
I would say to pick you have to pick like more outgoing ones that'll actually feel like they can say something, but also the ones who, like, I guess, good students, the ones that like can see both sides of the problem and not just their problem.
Okay. Cadence, did you have something to add?
Yeah, sorry. I was also gonna say, I know that there are like the ambassadors for each grade that got picked however long ago. I think you could start with them too, because obviously they have been trying to be a voice for a while. So I think that could also work, starting with the ambassadors, or yeah.
Okay, do other board members have any questions or comments for the students?
Are either of you one of those ambassadors?
We are not.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
How do the ambassadors get chosen?
Can anyone address that?
Yeah, I can address that. The ambassadors were chosen.
Mr. Dovitt.
Yes, sorry. Excuse me. The ambassadors were chosen going on 3 years ago. We have a process that we need to kind of put into place this year going forward to make sure that we're kind of restocking the shelves, if you will, on ambassadors. We are a year behind, I believe, on that. So this spring, we will definitely have to restock our shelves with students.
So what have the ambassadors done to this point? I guess I'm not familiar with that. So I'm just,
Yeah, so the group of students that were picked a couple of years ago were picked because we needed to get some student voice on some PCBL feedback. We've asked them to help us with our site visits. They do quite a bit for us when we have people come visit our classrooms. They are kind of like our tour guides. That's kind of been their biggest role.
okay, thank you.
And how did you choose those, Mr. Dovitz?
The original group of students were chosen. I believe we chose 2 students from each class that were already part of either student council or National Honor Society. And then we were able to choose some other students kind of by, to be honest, Mr. Beta and myself and Mrs. Sell just chose some students because we needed to start the group. The process that we have set in place, the ambassadors helped us create. It involves getting kind of some support from other students and teachers that will kind of, what's the word, not nominate them, but agree that they'd be a good person to be in that role.
Thank you. I remember hearing some discussion about the selection of ambassadors, I think at one of the PCBL convenings that I had with the district design team. And I was impressed with the suggestions that the teachers that were there had suggested that adding certain students because maybe they were a little bit more quiet, or they just represented a broader range than what you might initially think, but that they also thought, based on those teachers' interactions with the students, that they would be willing to step up and represent another view. So I thought it seemed like they were making an effort to get a pretty broad view of students.
So in your process of questioning all the students, did you ask them how they would like their student representative to be voted in onto the board, or how they would like to be selected?
When I sent out the survey, I didn't talk about a representative. I just wanted to get what they feel right now. So then I told them, if they didn't listen, to give me examples of what they were talking about, but I didn't go into the representative side.
Okay. Anything else for the students or for Mr. Miller or any of our administrators regarding this topic? So this won't be anything that we'll act on today, but I would look forward to hearing in the coming, perhaps our next meeting, what the thoughts are and what direction we might be going with this, whether we're looking for a student board representative, a sample policy was presented. That might be something that we need to look at again, or maybe the right answer is to go more using our ambassadors and or student council and others as more advisory, and put them in advisory roles to administrators, or maybe both. So good topic. Thank you.